You can type Word documents or Google Calendar. You can keep track of your calendars, or Sheets, which is like a Microsoft Excel, so spreadsheets. Your Google Drive, which is your free cloud storage included with your Gmail account. There's a lot of cool free tools that are included, and they can be really useful for sharing documents or spreadsheets or appointments. So the first way to organize your Gmail inbox, and this is pretty specific to Gmail, they have what you call inbox types, and there's 6 different types. There's the default type so it looks like this. You go into your settings. So what we're looking at right now is a screenshot of the upper right hand corner in your email inbox. You click on the gear, and then you'll see your quick settings, and underneath your quick settings you'll have 6 options for your inbox type: default, important first, unread first, starred first, priority inbox, and multiple inboxes. So default is what most people probably use, and it's just chronological. So the newest emails are at the top of the list, and they get older as they go down. But if you want to, you can actually change that and reverse it. If you're looking for something really old, like an email from 5 or 10 years ago, you can click on the number of emails in the top right-hand corner. When you're looking at your email, you'll see a number up there, how many emails are in your inbox. And if you click on that, it'll give you an option to change it from newest to oldest, so it'll reverse the order. And so, yeah, that's called default inbox. And that really works fine for most people, because the newer things are the ones that probably matter more to your current life. But these other ones are pretty cool options too. The next one, it would be important first. So Gmail predicts what emails are going to be important and then displays them at the top of your inbox. There's a little marker that we'll talk about in a minute, a little yellow flag that's beside the email, and Gmail automatically marks the email as important. Like, let's say it's from maybe your bank, and Gmail might use an algorithm that says this looks like it's from your bank. We're going to mark that as important, and then it'll kind of go to the top. And then other things that might be a little less important are down lower in your inbox. And that's something you just need to try and see how it works for you. The next category, or actually this is a little confusing because there's multiple ways to organize things. So this is called inbox type, is what we're talking about. The next type is called unread first. So this shows the emails that you haven't read yet at the top. This is actually the way I use it personally. So there's basically a big clump of unread emails and then everything else below that. So I'll show you what that looks like. I'll just jump into my email real quick. Just a second, I need to get back to oh, there we are. So this is an email inbox here, and I have 45 unread emails, a little too many. But you have the bold ones are unread, and then below it is everything else. So that's the way it looks. Like kind of two categories: things I haven't read yet and things I have read. And that's pretty simple and pretty useful, because you just have the bold ones that you need to get to and then everything else below it. Just working on sharing this screen again. Alrighty. And the next type is starred first. So you can put a star beside your emails. And if you look next to your email, there will be a little star icon and you can click that. And that's kind of a manual way of saying this is important. And then all of those starred emails will be at the top. And then the fifth one here is called priority inbox. And this is actually similar to the second option, important first, but it splits your inbox into sections. So I'm actually going to pop back over. It's kind of cumbersome to stop sharing my screen, but I'm going to pop back over to my email one more time to show you what this looks like because it's kind of hard to explain. I can just show it to you. Okay, so if I go to my email inbox settings here, and like we were talking about, we go into the settings and it has your inbox types here. I can click priority inbox and it changes it. Still pretty similar looking here. Got a lot of unread emails and then starred emails are below that and then everything else. And you can actually add categories to this. You can customize it with this blue button here. You can customize what categories you want. So you kind of end up with sections of categories in your inbox. And that's kind of that's really, I would say it's the most complicated we're going to talk about because the last option is called multiple inboxes, which is a little advanced. And so I don't think it's really too pertinent for this presentation, but you can set up multiple inboxes. Okay, so yeah, multiple inboxes, that's the advanced last one. Even harder to explain, so I'm just not gonna go into that one too much, but those are something just to kind of play around with. You might just, it's really whatever works for you. Some people just use the default and that's totally fine. And they respond to most of their emails too. Um, and then if you look into your iOS app, if you have like a phone and or a tablet and you download the Gmail app, whatever inbox type you select, it'll show on the left-hand sidebar there. So it would say unread or important and unread. It'll just kind of be reflected there, and it just kind of changes the way your app is organized automatically like that. So the next thing we're going to talk about is category tabs. These are, I'm not sure how many of you all use these. You can feel free to speak up in the chat if you use these category tabs. If you go into your settings in your email, you can select categories. I'm calling them tabs because they look like tabs across the top of your email. And so your primary inbox is your first category, and that's it's required. You have to have that one. But then next you have promotions, which are shopping, online shopping, and sales and promotions. And the next category tab is called social media. So it would be notifications from like Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram. Like when someone tags you in a post, you'll get an email for that if you have that turned on. So rather than having all of those emails cluttering up your inbox, it'll categorize them into a whole nother tab. So they're not cluttering things up. And then you also have options for updates and forums. Now, updates are interesting. I played around with this one a little bit. I don't personally use this, and it was giving me a lot of like one thing that might go into this category. It's actually a lot of things are going into this category automatically for me. So it might be something you need to try to see how it works for you. But like, let's say you had a shipping notification and there was an update on your shipping notification, like that would go in there. So it's just kind of something to just see how that works for you. And then the last category is forums. So if you are a member of an email group or a discussion board or a mailing list, that would go into the forums tab. And if you're not familiar with the way that this looks, I'll show you in my email again. So can you see this window here? So this is inbox, primary inbox here on this tab, and then this is a promotions tab. So see, it's just all the companies wanting your hard-earned dollar in here, and they all have their sales. And then social is when someone comments on a YouTube video or Nextdoor or LinkedIn or Facebook or anything like that. So it really helps you not clutter up your primary inbox. Then your primary inbox can stay more for actual personal emails and important emails, and the other things can usually wait. Any questions about that? Do you think, Jack, we should take any questions in the middle or just keep on going?
I forgot I was muted. There is one question here, and it may be jumping ahead a little bit, but I'll ask it so at least you can get to it when you can. How
Hmm.
do you delete multiple emails at once?
Oh yeah, that's going to be kind of the it's going to be the pinnacle of this whole talk.
Okay.
That's the question that we get a lot at the library, really, is, the best way to delete a lot of emails because they really stack up fast. So I'll hurry up and get there really so we can spend plenty of time on that.
Oh, the other question, real quickly,
Uh-huh.
what can you move a promotion email to primary? Can you assign it a different category?
I think so. Yeah, let me test that out for a second. I think you just drag it. So I can show you that. So if I have this email here in my promotions tab, if I don't want those, I think if I don't want this particular type of email from this sender to go to my promotions tab, I would just drag it over to my inbox or to my primary tab like that. And then from then on, Gmail tends to, I think it'll try to learn not to send that to your promotions tab in the future. So pretty simple. You just drag and drop. Yeah, I kind of forget that you can drag things in your email quite as
Yeah.
easily as you can because there's so many buttons.
Yep.
But sometimes,
Susan's got it. She's on top of this. She uses categories, so she's ahead of me.
nice. Yeah, no, I mean, like anything though, sometimes an email that you don't want to go to a category will end up in a category. But it's pretty, Gmail actually has algorithms to like kind of improve over time. So if you were to get a personal email, like let's say the library, that's a good example. Let's say that might go to your promotions on accident. Like Gmail might think that it's a sale. They say book sale. And you're like, that's not a sale, that's the library. I want to get that in my inbox. Well, if you drag that to your primary inbox, then Gmail will do a pretty good job of learning that in the future, and then they'll start going to your primary inbox. So correcting it will have a good effect over time. And I find that at this point, my promotions and social tabs are pretty accurate. They're just that. So, okay. Can everyone see this?
Yep. Yep.
Um, Yeah, so those are called category tabs. Well, they're called categories, but I call them category tabs because they're a little different than the categories that are on the left-hand sidebar, which those are, well, before I say that, if you're looking at these category tabs in an app on your phone, they'll be on the side. They won't be on the top. So this is what they'll look like. This is what it looks like in my iPhone app. Probably pretty similar in an Android as long as you're using the Gmail app. So they kind of just stack on top of your other categories over there on the left-hand side. But I was differentiating those tabs from the sidebar categories. So these are your ones that you're even more familiar with, like inbox and starred and snoozed, sent, drafts. These are usually always over there by default in a Gmail account, and there probably are similar ones in a Yahoo and other email uh, platforms. So yeah, if you want to if you look up at the top of this slide, this is my email from Jack inviting me to this Zoom meeting. And if I want to star it, I just click on the star icon, and that goes into the starred category. And if I want to mark it as important, I click on the little yellow flag icon, and that will include it in the important category. So really, these sidebar categories are they're folders, really, is one way to think of them. Because if you click on something and make it and star it, then it'll be available in that folder. If you click over in the left-hand sidebar, you can click on starred and you'll see all your starred emails, or you click on important and you'll see all your important emails. So really, it's just a kind of a default folder or a default label. Um, is one way to think of it. So um, that includes the trash. So I'm kind of going out of order, but you can star your individual messages. You can mark them as an important. You can snooze them to make them pop up later. Like an example I saw was if you wanted your flight itinerary email to pop back up the day before your trip, you could snooze it until the date before your trip, and then it would pop back up in your inbox. I tend to just star. I just went on a trip and had an itinerary, and I tend to just put those in my starred folder. Really, whatever works for you, but they're really just different default folders is one way to think of them. Now your drafts, you may be familiar with those. Drafts are automatically populated. They automatically saves your email as you're typing an email. It saves automatically into your drafts. So if you click on your drafts folder, that's every email that you haven't finished yet. And then your spam folder, which I think you're pretty familiar with that probably, that automatically tries to filter out unwanted emails. And then your trash is really, you can think of it as just a folder. When you send something to the trash, it's not gone yet. It deletes automatically after 30 days. So really, it's just a temporary folder that's going to delete after 30 days. And in your iOS app, they look like this. Same categories are over on the left-hand sidebar. We'll talk about another category in just a minute. There's one down here called All Mail. I think I'll mention that in just a moment. While we're at it, talking about stars, you can actually in the settings go into your settings and go to see all settings and into your general settings, and you'll see options to actually add more stars. You can have what 6 different colored stars and exclamation and other little symbols too. So you could get pretty creative with all your different colored stars. I'm kind of a big star fan myself. I like the stars. Now, this is one that Jack was mentioning. This would be kind of the bread and butter of organizing your inbox, I would say. And there's a video link. I'll share this presentation with everyone. Uh, I embedded a linked video here that tells you all about folders. And oh, sorry, not folders, labels. They're called labels. In the video, it talks about how they're basically a folder. But the difference between them being a folder, the reason why they're called labels is because you can add multiple labels to one email. So if you're using a folder like in a filing cabinet, you can't put the same document in multiple folders. But with labels, you can put multiple labels on one email. If that makes sense. So you can create new labels with this plus sign here, and then you can change your label color and customize that. And I'll show you this in just a second. You can drag labels onto the messages. This is what I'll show you. This is a little confusing. If you drag a label onto your email, it keeps the email in your inbox, but it adds the label. And if you, down at the bottom of the list here, if you drag the message from the inbox onto the label, it actually removes it from your inbox and puts it inside the label folder. So it's kind of two slightly different ways to do it. You can also drag a label onto the message that you're currently reading, like if you're inside the email, you can do it that way. Or you can even click the label icon at the top of the email while you're reading it. There's just several different ways to do it. Or you can select multiple messages at one time and then select a label for all those messages all at one time. See if I can show you this a little bit. Jump back here, and we have the inbox here. And if I wanted to label this first email as taxes, I could just drag my label up there, and then it labels it taxes. And I could even label it with two labels if I wanted to. But if I actually move this email here to onto the label, it actually removes it. If I do it this direction, it removes it from the inbox. So two slightly different ways to do it. And if I wanted to look at an email here and I wanted to label from right here, I could drag the label onto the email right here, and it added it at the top. Or I could click on the label button right here, and then I could select the label like that. Just different ways to do the same thing. But you can go crazy with the labels, and you can add labels to everything. Some people like to organize their inbox that way, and you can end up with a very colorful inbox with labels on everything, and it can really help you just help you visually to quickly see like important emails. Like that'd be a good label, important, or need to respond soon or something like that. Okay, so in the iOS app, oh, I had a little video that I put into the slideshow, but it's not showing up right here for some reason. So it was really just showing you the way that labels look in the iOS app. And in the app, it's not, you have to go to the email and then you click on the three dots for your menu, and then you'll have some labeling options. But some of this like really kind of deep organization stuff is a little bit more meant for you can definitely do it in the app, but it's always a little easier on the desktop. And that's kind of when you're kind of a power user or you really want to organize your email. A lot of these, that's why we're in the desktop, talking about desktop computers right now, because if you're really wanting to make a dent on your email and get organized, that's the best place to do it. Okay. Okay, now we're going to talk about archiving versus deleting. And this is a little confusing to folks sometimes too. So if you delete something, I think we're all pretty familiar with that. It moves it to the trash. Like I was saying, the trash is just a folder, but it's a folder that deletes after 30 days, or after your email has been in that folder for 30 days, it'll automatically remove itself and will be deleted permanently. But you can also go into your trash, click in there and empty your trash manually, and it'll say, do you want to delete forever? And you'll say, yes, I'm sure. So deleting frees up space once the trash is emptied. So if that's what your goal is, a lot of people, they want to free up space in their Gmail account, and deleting and then emptying the trash will accomplish that. But archiving is similar, but it just hides it from your inbox. So the trash can, you see that circled, and then the other little icon with the folder with the down arrow, that's called archive. and it hides it from your inbox, but it's still visible in the All Mail tab. So that's that tab we talked about a little while ago. See it down there, kind of at the bottom, close to the bottom, All Mail. So it's not your inbox, it's everything all in one place. So if you archive something from your inbox, it goes to your All Mail category. My slideshow is getting stuck on the screen for some reason. There we go. So archiving is basically a way to get it out of your life without actually deleting it. So I would suggest using archive if you have plenty of space and you're worried about accidentally deleting something, because it's very similar, but it's still just kind of taking up space in the background. And I wanted to touch on this too. If you're using email on a phone, that's one of the most convenient things to do on a phone is to swipe your email and you can delete it or archive it. So if you're looking at your inbox, you can actually customize what swiping the email does in your app. So you go into your settings, and then there's a setting that we see here in the middle called Mail Swipe Actions. And you can swipe an email left or right, and you can customize both. So you could customize it potentially to, like, if you swipe it to the right, it would archive it, but if you swipe it to the left, it'll delete it and put it in the trash. That's one way to do it. So you can customize that, and you can even have more things too. You could snooze it or move it to another place or mark it as unread or read. So there's a lot of options, and that's a pretty easy way to keep your inbox uncluttered when you're just mostly just checking things quickly on your phone. Okay, so now we're getting into the nitty-gritty, and we're working up to deleting emails here. Unsubscribing from mailing lists. In your promotions tab, or in your inbox, if you don't use the promotions tab, you've likely got a lot of mailing lists and things that you've gotten subscribed to over the years. Basically, if you buy anything online, you're going to get subscribed to that store's mailing list. So over time, it really adds up, and you might have 100 different stores that are sending you emails, or many other things too. So the best way to unsubscribe is to click into the email. Now make sure it's a safe email and not a spam email. But if it's like, I just bought a pair of shoes and now that store is sending me emails that I'm going to get an email from them every day with sales of shoes, and I know who it's coming from and it's a safe email, then I would click into the email, and then you're going to see an unsubscribe button at the top of the email usually. And if you don't see that unsubscribe button, you can report it as spam by clicking the little exclamation point with a stop sign up at the top, or in your on the right hand side, you can click a little drop down menu and you can report as spam over there, or you can block the sender. So there's just multiple options, and there's usually an unsubscribe link at the bottom of the email body that you can click as well. I think it's a law that they're supposed to put that in there, but not every email has it, so that's why there's these different options. And it may take a few days or a week to stop receiving emails from this sender. Not sure why. Never really gotten a good explanation on that. Um, and what I was very interested in learning about when preparing for this was bulk unsubscribing. I was wondering if there's a way to unsubscribe from like a lot of mailing lists at once without having to go into a lot of individual emails. And this is actually a feature in Outlook, and I included a little video link for it. So if you're using Microsoft Outlook, you can actually do this. You can click on your subscriptions in your settings, and then it'll give you a list of all your subscriptions. And then you can just click the checkbox beside them to unsubscribe from many different subscriptions at once. And that's a cool feature, but that doesn't exist in Gmail. So in Gmail, there's actually some apps out there and some browser extensions that are supposed to do it, but I didn't feel comfortable recommending any specific thing since I haven't used it, but there are some tools out there that I think can help with that. The last thing I wanted to say is if you're in your spam folder, if you think a message might not be safe and might be spam, it's safest to not click into the email and to just delete it or mark it as spam rather than trying to unsubscribe from it if it's something you don't feel comfortable with.
Uh, I want one quick thing, and we already kind of went over this, and so it's kind of going back. But one of the questions was, how do you add a label? And I think you showed that at the top of labels, there's a plus there, and you can
Yeah.
type it in. But I'm not sure if Linda asked that question prior to when you showed it or not. But
Yeah, I didn't actually show how to. It's just the plus sign right here. So you'll have this, it'll say labels on the left-hand side, and you click the plus sign and you say, you can make a label right there. And then
and
it's,
oh, while you have that open, can you go
uh-huh,
back to making the label? Because it's
sure.
another question. Somebody just asked about a sub label, and that's
Yeah,
exactly where you do it here.
yep,
Nest your label under, and then you can find a label category you already have, and it will
uh-huh.
become a sub label. So it
Yeah,
was
so
it.
you definitely you could get really fancy with all this if you really wanted to, you know. You could have 20 labels with sub-labels underneath them. So
Yeah,
I didn't even go into that because that's a little fancy, but yeah, you can create labels inside of labels.
right.
And then if you want to change the color, it makes it gray by default. So if you click on the three dots, it'll give you some options here. So you can change the color, make a nice teal. Um, yeah, and I guess now that I notice it, it's bold because there are emails associated with that label now, and it shows you a number out beside of the label how many emails are associated with that label.
I believe it's only if it's an unopened email.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I
If
bet you're
it's
right.
opened, it won't show the number.
Yeah, I bet you're right. I've got mostly just all my unopened ones at the top, so that's what we're working with. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
just the unopened ones. Okay, so we're gonna jump back in here, and then we're gonna, this is my PetSmart email that I was unsubscribing to. 10 times treats for 20% off for Halloween. You know, it's like it's funny when sending advertisements became free for companies, they're like, we can send it every day. Um, okay, so now we're going to get into talking about deleting. And I'm calling this bulk delete. And most people, like I said, and let me know if you have other scenarios. A lot of people that we see here, you get 15 gigabytes for free storage with your Gmail account. And a lot of people are interested in deleting emails because they feel like they're taking up a lot of space. So to work on this, I would use a computer and not the app. So you can see more emails at one time, and you can usually see more text on the screen, so you can tell what the email is a little bit better without having to click into every email. It's just, and some of these features don't aren't available on the mobile app, so best to use a computer for this. And while you're using the computer, you'll see a lot of emails. You'll see a number at the top right hand of your inbox, and if you hover over that, like we talked before, uh, I think at some point Gmail changed this. There used to always be arrows up here, but now you actually have to hover over this number and click for the arrows to appear. Sometimes that can actually be a little confusing. I've seen that confuse people here at the library quite a bit because they're just trying to figure out how to go to page 2 of their inbox, and the arrows aren't there. So you have to actually click on that number for the arrows to appear. Um, and one of the main things I want to mention is that emails don't actually take up very much space. They're very small. What actually takes up the most space are attachments and like photos and videos, and to some extent documents. Like if you had a large document with photos in it, like a large PDF maybe, that might take up some significant space, but mostly Mostly it's multimedia things like photos and videos. And it really just kind of adds up over time. So um, you can create an advanced search to look for large emails. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. And you can also delete entire categories. Like one thing I'm tempted to do is just delete my entire promotions category, or you could delete your entire social media category. And that will delete potentially thousands of emails in one swoop. And then the space, like we mentioned before, isn't freed up until you empty your trash. And this is a small detail, but I noticed helping someone just a week or two ago here that your Gmail trash and your Google Drive trash and your Google Photos trash are all separate. So they need to be deleted separately. That's a pretty in-depth Google thing, but if you're really trying to free up space in your Google Drive, then you have to make sure to delete all those trashes separately inside each space. So continuing on with bulk deleting, you can click the box at the top of your inbox. At the top left-hand corner, you'll see a checkbox, and if you click that, it'll select everything on that page. So if you can select in your settings whether you want to see 25 on a page or 50 on a page, or there's a few options. I think it's like 10, 25, or 50. If you click the checkbox, it'll select every email on that current page. And when you do that, though, it'll pop up, as you see in the top of this slide, it'll pop up with an option that says, okay, so 50 of them are selected, but do you want to select all 16,638 conversations in primary? So that's the way that you would select everything in a category. Whether if you're in your inbox, that would be selecting everything in your inbox. If you're in your promotions tab, it would be selecting everything in your promotions tab or your social media tab or a folder or a label. So, and then if you click the arrow to the side of the checkbox, you'll get some more options. Like you could select just your read emails or your starred. And the last thing is you can shift select emails. I'll show you how to do that. If I click the first email in a range, so I select this and I hold down Shift on my keyboard, I'm now holding down Shift, and I click down here, it selects a range of emails. So that's a really good tip for, if I wanted to delete 5 emails at a time and then skip one, and then delete 5 more emails and then skip one, and then 5 more emails, I could use the Shift button to select ranges like that. Okay, so this is the advanced search that I was talking about just a minute ago. Um, if you click, if you look in your search bar at the top, there's a little button called the advanced search options. And I guess this icon is like little sliders and fields for filling out a form. So click on that icon and it's going to pop up with a window that looks like this. So you can do an advanced search, and it's not anything to be intimidated about. It just gives you more options on your search. So one scenario that I like to do is you can search for emails greater than 10 megabytes or 25 megabytes or 50 megabytes. You could just kind of play around with this and see what this search returns. But let's say that I used to personally send people MP3s a lot, and MP3s tend to be well, they would be about 5 megabytes or so. So I could look for any email that is more than 3 megabytes. And then there's uh, a little checkbox down here has an attachment. So if I wanted to find all the emails that I have attached an MP3 to, I could click has an attachment, and I could say greater than 5 megabytes or 25 megabytes or whatever you want to start with. And then it'll show you every email that has an attachment that's bigger than that, all in a line. And then you can go through those, and then you're just going to be dealing with the big emails. And that will be the most bang for your buck when you're trying to clean up space, because just a regular text email of someone saying, got it, thanks, is taking up just very, very little space. That's really not what the issue is usually when you're running out of space. So yeah, this is one of my best tips, just searching for emails with larger attachments. And there's a date range here that you can use. If you don't do anything, it'll just search for all time, all emails of in all time. But you can also just look for like older emails, like emails within a year of 2017, and that way you're not going to be deleting any new stuff. And you can also obviously, as you see, search for keywords or doesn't have keywords or certain subjects, or that's all kind of your basic stuff there. Um, you can search different categories, so you can really, it's really powerful. And another thing that I see quite a bit here at the library is just kind of remembering that you can search your email, because really it's a really powerful tool to search your email, because it's Google, and Google is known for their searching. So if you can't find something, you can definitely you can usually find it just by searching. And so if it doesn't work the first time, if you're typing in the wrong word, you can try different words, or you can type in any word, like an email. It doesn't have to be the subject. It could be just an email that's, sorry, it can be a word that's in the email itself. Or it could be the person's name or the person's last name or the person's email address, or really whatever. So you can, don't be scared to search a lot of different ways if you're looking for an email. A lot of people just keep every email and then they just search. So their email is like, you know, 20,000 emails, and when you need to find something from a few weeks ago, you just search for it. That's a valid way to do it. I think that's actually the end here, but I,
Okay.
I
There,
suspect some people might have some questions about
yeah,
deleting bulk.
there were a couple questions that I wanted that I kind of didn't get to earlier,
Hmm.
and this one I'm not sure if you can describe or get back to whatever. But Shelley uses Outlook, and Outlook has sorted her inbox into focused and other,
Okay.
and then junk. And her problem is she doesn't know how to move things into other from, I guess, focused or from junk or something like that. Is
Hmm.
that something? I know this is Outlook, so I don't know if that's something you can describe, or it would be better for her to come in and see one of you guys.
I think I would look that I can look into that for you. I just don't know Outlook enough to know that off the top of my head, but I could definitely help you look into that. I bet that it shouldn't be too difficult. It's just figuring out how to do it.
Yeah.
So I'll make a
And
note of that.
okay. And then there is one other question from Linda. How do you delete a category on, how do you delete category on an iPhone label?
That's a good one. Let me poke around for a second and see if I can figure that out.
Okay. While he's doing that, I'm going to mention something that he and I had talked about, and I get and absolutely have no problem doing it, but I get requests about I'm not sure if I signed up for something or what did I sign up for in October, and I accept default because I put stuff out really early, and people forget. And what I would like to suggest, since we're discussing labels and folders, depending on what email you use, is make a label or a folder that says RBC or Retirement Boot Camp or something like that. And every time you get a confirmation that you registered for something, just drag it into it or label it so it goes there. And that way you have your original email. So if you do want to cancel, you can do it yourself. Once again, if you want to email me, I have no problem doing that for you. But if you want to, you can do it. And every time I move you from wait list to register, you get another email. And if you sort all those things into a label, and then as you do the event, delete them, you'll have a folder with everything you've signed up for, no matter how far in the future it is. And it'll help kind of keep a calendar for you. So just a suggestion, and it may be none of you who have that issue, but I'm just putting it out in general because I do get those emails, and that this session might help that a little bit. And I think he's still
Well,
researching.
if the was the question about how to delete a category tab like promotions, or was it about
No,
deleting a label or the
and I
left-hand
Go-
sidebar?
figured it out. I figured it
Oh,
out.
good.
Okay, Linda got it. She
I
got
get
it
What
on
on
my
what
her own.
phone, figured it out.
what were you trying to figure? What specifically was it?
I wanted to delete one of my labels. I don't need it anymore.
Gotcha. And how did you do that? I don't know how to
Well,
do
I'm
that.
not sure now. Let me.
She's a woman after my own heart. Keep pressing
It was
buttons.
under settings,
Okay, so you had to go into settings. Yeah,
and
that's
then
the
I went,
thing.
oh, then
That,
it said, then labels.
okay, yeah, that's the thing about the apps. There's not as many buttons on the screen, so sometimes you have to dig somewhere to find something. Where I think on the desktop you could, I think you should be able to delete a label more easily. You can just click on the three dots and remove label. Yeah, I think, oh yeah, I see it here in the settings. Okay.
Thanks, Linda. I figured it out from what you said.
Great.
I mean, if you really think, another way to think about the labels versus the sidebar categories is the sidebar categories are not changeable. They're always there. And then the labels are your custom ones. You know, it's really just more of the same thing, just your custom sidebar categories.
Are there any other questions? If you want to unmute and just ask, we don't have that big a group, so. Okay. You know, I haven't ever shared a screen, but I'm going to try to share a screen just to show you a mania situation here. Do I hit share screen first and then open up my email, Jim, or do I have to open the email
When
first?
when you click share screen, it's going to pop up with a window that shows you all of your open windows on your computer. And
Okay.
so you should be able to see, take a moment and look for it. It's kind of small, and you can click on the one that's your email window.
I don't see it, so it's obviously not open here. Let me,
Yeah, you might have to open it first.
okay, hang on a second. Let me see if I can get to that. Okay, here we go. Now let me go back to my Zoom. Where am I here? Okay. And okay, come on. How do I get back to the Zoom now?
Yeah, this is the tricky part. That's why I have a
Oh,
lot of
there.
awkward silences.
Yep. Okay, I think I got it. Okay. Let me see if it'll work this time and I can get the email. No. Okay, let's try one more time.
I'm writing down this question from Shelley, so I can remember that.
Okay. Well, I don't see it, so I don't know that I can do this. Um, but at any rate, um, I am a fanatic about labels, and that's how I do my job. So with 12 events a month, every event and every category event has a label, and every of last year's events are there, so we know what we did and whatever. So it's a gigantically great tool. I use folders in AOL, I use labels in Gmail, and it's a great way to sort things. For me, it's also easy because it takes everything out of my inbox. When I open my inbox, I would have normally 6 emails there, and those are things I'm still working on or I'm looking to work on in the future, and everything else is filed somewhere. So that's another way to not spend a lot of time sorting through your inbox. It was just an option. Um, my labels are scary. That's what I was going to try to show you, but obviously I'm not. I need a tech lesson on how to do the share screen before I could do that. But
That's a really good example of using labels, though,
yeah,
because I could see how if each event has its own label,
yeah.
and then each event has, you know,
I
10 or
I
10 or
have
100
I have
emails.
a category for Tech Club, and I
Yeah.
have 2022 and 2023,
Huh.
and under that I have Tech Club sort your email or whatever we're calling this one today. So
Hmm.
any communication Jim and I had or anything is in there. So if we go back in a year and say what haven't we talked about, I can say, well, in 2022 we covered these, in 2023 we covered those, and it works out for me because it's my job. Doing it with your family may not be, but you can also have, all your relatives and all your events and your trips uh, done that way, and all the emails relative to a trip, and then where you save them. So if you did something to organize a trip and you go, I don't know how I got such a good price on my airfare, it's probably in an email that you probably saved in your under trips, Wichita, December 2022, and you can go see what you did.
I
So
really
just
like
as
that. I really like that idea, like, yeah, a trip or something that happens, like a big thing. Like if you were taking a European vacation, you know,
yeah,
you're going to have some information that you need to keep track of for that to get all that done. And that's a perfect example of like making a folder for this one thing. And then, you know, yeah, then when you're riding on a train through Europe, you can like find that email real quick because it might be really important.
yeah,
Or you could go much simpler and you could just click a star whenever you say, this is important.
yeah.
I would never want to delete this, and click a star. And then you could just have stars and everything else. Or I mean, really, it's endless.
Okay. And the last question is, when is the next tech club? And the answer to that is 1 month from today. It's the first Thursday, normally the first Thursday of every month. So we do have, I can't remember the subject, Jim. I'd have to go look that up. But we do have a subject in the next tech club, and the subject is in the calendar if you want to go look that up. Or uh, let me
I don't
sort
remember
my,
either. That would be a fun game show. Is you
yeah.
have all your folders, and
I'm
then
going into I'm going into
I
my
actually
folders right now on my
yeah
desktop. I'm
I,
going to Tech Club
I
alphabetical.
actually don't use folders, and I'm just really unorganized that way. And I would just search Tech Club, and then I bet it's in the top 10 or 15 emails, and I would just, you know, it's just two different ways. I wonder who would get there first, you know?
And
I
we
got
have
it.
search, I think organizing images is the
There
next.
you go.
Yep.
That's gonna be a hard one.
So we try to make these as difficult for Jim as possible. Anyways, any other quick questions before we have to call it an evening?
Br-
I want to personally shout out and applaud several of you who figured out things on your own by the Jack Altman method, which is if you keep pressing buttons, sooner or later you're going to get the answer to your question. The only thing you have to do is remember what you did. So that's my method, for good or bad.
I, I will chime in one last thing that I don't think I mentioned is if you're trying to delete a lot of emails, it can just be tedious. I mean, there's ways to do it. You can select a lot of them at one time, but if you're really worried about deleting each email, and you know, you kind of need to look at them. You know, you need to look at the subject at the very least. So there's not really you can select a ton at once, but it can be kind of tedious. So if
And
you
once-
end up with 10,000 of them, it can be a
Once
tedious thing.
again, I either file my emails or delete them. So if it's not consequential, they're gone. So I know that everything in my deleted file can be deleted. Or I've kept it because it will serve, and I can make an error of judgment, of course, but it's unlikely, so you can do that. One other thing I mentioned that I've had experience with the unsubscribe. Most things are pretty easy to unsubscribe to. In a few days, you'll unsubscribe. The ones that are kind of dangerous, you just get rid of. But there are less scrupulous advertisers who you'll go in and you'll hit unsubscribe, and you'll unsubscribe from that division of their company, but they'll keep sending you things under another division. And usually if you scroll around, you'll find unsubscribe from all categories of some nonsense like that. They make it as difficult as possible because they want to keep you on their email list. But that's a trick I found. Sometimes you have to look to unsubscribe from all or unsubscribe from all of our
Yeah.
various companies. It also doesn't protect you from them having already distributed or sold your email, which is why you're unsubscribing a little of something every day. So, all right. Anything else? If not, I think we'll call it an evening. I want to thank
Thanks.
everybody for joining us. You guys were great. And we'll see you at one of the next events or at the next Tech Club. Have a good evening, everyone.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
I've written down Shelley's question, and I'll just look into that first thing in the morning.
Okay.
I'm gonna
Are you gonna send me your spread thing? Because you said you had a bunch of videos